So there's been this theme, I said this on my last video, there's this theme of all these interesting conversations that I'm having that are creating these impromptu conversations that I didn't plan on having this at this time, but let's go ahead and have them. I was scrolling. It wasn't a doom scroll, but I was scrolling and there was this girl talking about how she does not date men who come from single mother households. And I thought that was extremely unfair, but valid, because she's talking about being raised off of survival versus being raised off of love. And being raised off survival and love really has nothing to do with the how many people you had in your household, how many parents you had growing up. But hold on, we're going to talk about that. It's been a theme. Like I said, I was going to a concert with a gentleman. He asked me about a week before Valentine's Day, and I was like, well, what about Valentine's Day? And he was so excited that I even wanted to do something with him. Then I was like, whoa, you're right. This isn't genuine, and I don't even like you like that, so let's not. I was in the supermarket with a friend who was vetting me to be his queen, and he was like, this was like the day after Valentine's Day. He was like, you should have seen my timeline. There was so much fake love on my timeline that it just really... It gave me the ick. Like, I didn't even want to, he didn't say it like that, but you know what I'm saying? He said he didn't even want to celebrate Valentine's Day because there was so much fake love around him. And I resonated with that because we do see a lot of couples who are together for survival. And so when these things come around where you need to show the world how much you love each other, everyone's just lying. I've been down so long, it looked like up to me. So this conversation is about being raised off of survival versus being raised off of love, and how that interprets in your life, how that goes in your life to how you are with relationships, your relationship with a romantic partner, as well as your relationships in life. I have talked about survival mode before, so you can check out that video on my channel. I'll have the link above for you. Real quick though, you guys, I gotta get something straight. I'm not a guru sitting on the mountaintop, nor am I a professional with a bunch of letters behind my name. We know this, right? I would like to think of myself as a reformed princess who started out with such love and people around me with head on their shoulders. So then in the last few years, when I've been dealt bullshit, I've been able to, and I'm talking about like ever since the pandemic, since 2020, things have been a little weird for me, but I've been able to sort it out why. And in that, journey, I've realized if things like this are happening to me, it probably, chances are it's happening to other people or someone you know, and I just wanted to talk about it. So in my free time, people have come to me. I've always been the person. My mother is a therapist or a counselor, and my father's always been one of those really cool, chill people that everyone, my ex-husband just said it today. Shout out to my ex-husband, who I just saw today for the first time in years. He was talking about how my dad gave him the dopest advice in the fewest of words. So it's in my genes, you guys. It runs in the family. I do it for free. I do it for pay. I do it privately. I decided to do it publicly. I just wanted to create a safe space for us to talk about things. And normally I like to talk about spiritual things. I was the kid with spirits in my bedroom growing up. So I caught on to the left-hand path. However, I realized why I can't talk to you guys about spiritual shit. Most of y'all don't have your survival skills in order. And then I was going through it too. So I wanted to create a space for us to be able to talk about social norms and get a different perspective on I don't know, on our childhood. If we can feel better about life, we can make better decisions, and life hits different. That's why I'm here. So that's Chocolate Cake 101. If you resonate with that, then be here. And if you don't, I understand. So I just want to say that. Now, on to love. Love is the highest form of expression. Love is the highest emotion. Love conquers all. And people don't understand the concept of love, and we don't have to go into that whole thing today, but I do agree with that. I do understand why they say that love is the highest form of expression, and it really is. But if you live in a world where your survival needs aren't being met, you can't think about love as an emotion. You're too busy trying to survive. So what do we mean when we talk about being raised off of love versus being raised off of survival? Because a lot of us didn't grow up on love. Most of us, especially, not even most of us, a lot of us, including a lot of melanated people coming from being taught we were slaves and being taught that we had to have having a lot of freedoms taken away, we had to survive. Our parents did not care about how we felt. They were too busy trying to keep us alive. They were too busy grinding, hustling, keeping the lights on. So love wasn't always soft. It was making sure that there was food on the table. Or instead of being able to be affection was making sure you weren't caught slipping. I have my sister's best friend. She talks about how her father always made sure she had her nails done before she left the house, and she had on the flags kicks, and her hair was gray. He wouldn't let her have any wrinkles in her shirt. Like, he was on it. And to me, I saw right through that shit. I was like, ooh, that's someone that wanted to make sure his daughter would not be bullied or no one could say anything to her. So that was, to me, was an emotional survival. That's someone who had been through something and wanted to make sure their daughter wasn't caught slipping. Again, we'll talk about that later. But when you grow up on survival mode, love can sometimes feel like a luxury. For generations, we've had to be strong, we've had to be independent and self-sufficient. But, and I think a lot of women are experiencing this, single moms, the thing that is keeping you alive and surviving is what is blocking your emotional love, those passionate relationships, that vulnerability, that love that you actually really want to experience. So the personality types, love versus survival. And yes, I made a list. Raised on love, which is soft and secure. So you grew up with the emotional safety. You weren't just provided for, but you were poured into. So it wasn't it wasn't so much as I have a roof over my head, I know what I'm eating, I have clothes on my back. But it was also, my parents love me, they care about me, they spend time with me, they play with me. There's a difference between taking your kids to the park so that your kids can play versus actually engaging in activities with your kids and letting them see the silly side of you. So I have a relationship with my parents. See what I'm saying? Having a relationship with your family and friends, making time, spending quality time, going on vacations, knowing your parents and your siblings personally. They trust love because they never had to beg for it. They see relationships as partnerships, not power or struggle. They know how to communicate, resolve conflict, and set healthy boundaries. They understand that love isn't about struggle. Love is supposed to feel good. So, characteristic types of being raised on survival. This is being guarded and gritty. So this is someone who grew up watching struggle, so they've learned to expect struggle in love. Trust is earned, not given. And even then it's shaky. They see relationships as transactional. What can you bring to what do you bring to the table? Was that not like a popular... I've never been asked that personally, but we see that online a lot. What do you bring to the table? It's very weird to me. I always thought it was very weird. To continue, they're either hyper independent, I don't need nobody, or they're emotionally dependent. If you leave me, I'll have nothing. You know, what do they call that in like personality types? Anxiously attached. They equate struggle with love. If it ain't hard, it ain't real. So how does this play out in relationships? So for men, they are taught to provide, not to connect. Love is shown through actions, not words. Like I said earlier, your bills, I don't know if I said on this cut, your bills being paid equals I love you, right? You got food on your back. This is how we spend time together, is by me showing you how to work. Vulnerability feels like weakness, so they shut down instead of opening up. Someone who feels pressure to be strong all the time, so they suffer in silence, which is really sad. And I think that's the pandemic that we're having right now with men and emotional health. They can love deeply, but struggle to express it in a way that their partner understands. Oh, that's a good one. So in women who are raised on survival, that looks like being taught to be strong, independent. I don't need no man. They view softness as a liability. Letting their guard down feels dangerous. Subconscious fear of abandonment leading to emotional walls. I also would say of regret and resentment and not betrayal, but yeah, sure. I talk about this all the time. They struggle with receiving love because they were raised to give, not receive. And they're attracted to strength, but often confuse dominance for leadership. Those are two really big ones. So a lot of people don't understand. I have a whole masculine, feminine, men are from Mars, women are Venetian playlist. I will link it above. I need to link it above in the last video. Anyway. Being able to receive is feminine energy. All men and women have both masculine and feminine energy. A lot of people, especially in today's time, and I've heard someone talking about this, they are not ready to receive the love that they ask for. So when it comes, it goes right over them. When it comes, they self-sabotage. So then that goes to the next one, being attracted to strength, but often confusing dominance with leadership. This is where you have a lot of these Western culture men wanting a tall man, wanting a provider that pays all the bills, wanting someone who, like a lot of these women, they want a thug. That's confusing dominance with leadership. Just because someone isn't a certain height, or they don't have a certain build, a certain weight, they don't have a certain job, that does not mean that they are not a leader for their family. That does not mean that they don't know how to love, and that doesn't mean that they don't know how to grow. And so a lot of times women pick men who are aesthetically appealing to what a warrior would be, but that warrior doesn't have what it takes for the longevity of their family. A lot of those warriors were raised off of survival, because a warrior is someone who is just trying to survive. Therefore, at the first sign of trouble, they leave you. Ask me how I know. The cycle of survival-based love. A lot of our relationships aren't built on love. They're built on need. That I got it if you got me relationships. I got you if you got me relationships. Love feels like a business deal. Both people are together because they need something. Stability, security, validation's a big one. Not because they choose each other from a healthy place. It's coming from a wounded place. Then you have that ride or die dynamic, which I fell for as a young adult. Ride or die. If it ain't painful, if they ain't been through hell and back together, it doesn't feel real. Staying in toxic relationships because leaving feels like betrayal. Not calling the police and getting help from someone who's harming you because you are ride or die and it feels like betrayal. I'm gonna let y'all know right now, if someone is harming you, whether it be physically, emotionally, your first line of defense is yourself. So if you don't protect yourself, please understand, ain't nobody about to protect you. I'm not saying do what you gotta do, because what you gotta do to protect yourself is what you gotta do to protect yourself. To each his own. Then you have the emotionally unavailable pairing. This is that twin flame shit. One person chases, the other one runs. Whew. When they get too close, somebody pulls away. So deep down, neither person feels truly loved. They don't feel safe enough to love. This is that runner-chaser dynamic. I talked about that with my friend. I will link that video about it. I was talking about relationship push-pull relationships. They talk about personality types. This is the avoidant, which is the runner, versus the anxiously attached, which is the chaser. You should never be chasing anyone. You are first, foremost, and the most important. So if you have a problem with someone, you should not be focusing on the problem that you have with them. You should be focusing on yourself, what you can do for yourself. I'm saying this because I have personally dealt with this issue. I did not realize that I was anxiously attached. I had to go to therapy, and I had to really reflect on my childhood. I have two loving parents. My parents were married for 42 years. I put a lot of my identity in their relationship. I did not realize that. But I also moved across country, leaving behind my beloved Bellevue, Bellueve. I don't know how to spell Bellevue. Leaving behind my beloved school, leaving behind my sports and my friends and everybody that I loved. And I think that created a dynamic of being unstable and feeling unwelcome and unstable. And then also my parents are military, so daddy was always leaving to go TDY. And I think that created some unstable emotions in me. Breaking free and learning to love beyond survival. I'm not ready to get there yet, you guys. There's a few things I want to talk about, because I talked about the melanated community, and how even though being raised off of love and being raised off survival, it has nothing to do with the color of your skin. Being that a lot of people in the Western culture, a lot of dark-skinned people have had to, or feel like they have had to, fight for their rights in the past, or in the future, fight for injustices. Not in the future, in the present, fight for injustices, fight for business rights. A lot of the racism today isn't necessarily in your face and physical. It's business-wise. It's laws that were put in place decades ago, that are still being honored today, especially when it comes to money or when it comes to where we live or how we live, things that were taken away from not just our ancestors generations and generations ago, but even 100 years ago, 50 years ago. And so this ongoing survival mode has created a PTSD in a lot of dark-skinned people. So when you have a whole bunch of people, men and women, that are being raised off of survival, when they grow up generation after generation after generation, there's a problem. And it's not everybody. I don't even really want to say it's most of us, but it's a lot. It's a lot. So when you have the whole single mother thing, and that doesn't mean that if you were a single mother, which I think single mother thing is a weird thing to me anyway, because am I a single mother because I'm not with someone, or am I a single mother because I'm raising the kid by myself? Because there's a difference between support and love. I have love all around me. I have no problem with love all around me. None. The only lack of love I've ever faced is the perception with me and myself. Seriously. But just because you are a single mother does not mean that you are struggling, does not mean you are in survival mode. But as a cultural perception, single mothers are too busy trying to be mom and dad. They're also trying to work, and they're trying to figure out themselves. They're also going through emotional things from not having a man or from not having the support that they need. And being a parent, whether you have a village or not, is stressful. So you have all these things that's weighing against mom, and mom is not able. I said this in a past video. The woman's job when it comes to being a parent is to be loved and to be loving and nurturing. But when mom has to play the role of mom and dad, so she has to be the provider too, a lot of that nurturing and love shit goes out the window because it's not a necessity. It's a thriving. We're not surviving, we're thriving. Love is about, it's a higher form of expression. Even when you think of the chakras, the first three chakras, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus, red, orange, and yellow, are all about survival. Your relationship with yourself, your relationship in your relationship with the world and others around you, and then your self-expression. All those three, have you not noticed the three lower chakras, the color is fire, it's hell. And then once you get to your heart, now you're in love. And everything after that, how you express yourself, right? Your throat chakra, your interaction with spirit, your third eye, or really your first eye, and then your crown chakra, your evolution. That goes into so much. Oh my gosh. All those things are after you love. So this is a higher form of expressing myself. If all we need to do is survive, if all I need to do is get you through to your 18, that is a different type of raising than wanting to enjoy my children, wanting to spend time with my children, wanting to have a great relationship with my children, really cherishing these memories with my children, really teaching my children about life. There's a Black creator, a Black woman. She was talking about her son. Her son is in his 20s, and she was talking about how she had always thought that she did a great job raising him because she protected him from the world as a Black man. And now he's grown and he's telling her, like, you actually did nothing for me, Mom. You protected me from the world, but now that has crippled me. And she's like mind blown at what her son is saying. But to me, that's no disrespect to her because she's dope, but that's a big duh. Your form of love shouldn't be to keep someone back from life. It should be to put them on game. I said this to my mom the other day. I was like, if you want children to run the world, to conquer the world, you have to show them the world. And you have to let them be in the world. You have to put them on game. Children who don't know the world will be afraid to conquer it. They will stay in their corner. That is wounded masculine, wounded feminine energy. So you can't do that though. And I talk about the things that we need to talk about with our kids, but you can't do that if you're in survival mode because you're too busy going to work, going home and getting rest. You haven't even done what you need to do for yourself to sustain your energy, to feel good within yourself, to feel like you can handle life. You're in survival mode. Of course your kids are going to be in survival mode. So you're not going to teach your kid about fishing, about food, about the economy, about money, about investing, about love, about relationships, about their body, about fitness, because you're not in it yourself. And the main thing that I talk about with all of my conversations is how to get there by getting there mentally. So it starts by being able to express yourself, being able to really see what's going on. By the way, a lot of people don't want to go to therapy. A lot of people don't want to look at themselves. A lot of people don't want to do the inner work. You don't want to I slept on inner childhood healing for so long, but it is such a game changer to go back to your childhood, certain situations that created your perception for certain things now as an adult, and rewrite those stories, because how it happened wasn't necessarily how it had to be. Go to therapy. But this is, again, taking ownership for not that it was my fault, but it's in my control. Not that it's my fault, but it's my responsibility to make it better now. Then going, whether you go to therapy, whether you just do 31 ways to flow, whether you stabilize your nervous system through meditation, breath work, Tai Chi, Qigong, Muay Thai, walking, whatever. This is about working on your self-concept. I'm huge on self-concept. One of the main things I talk about, because self-concept is your relationship with the world. So when I was talking about survival mode or even thriving, there's different areas. It could be for your health. It could be for your physical appearance. It could be for your romantic relationships. It could be for your relationships as far as with your children, with your parents, with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers, with your community. It could be your relationship with money, whether it be about money or whether it be with your relationship with your career. But the highest, the best, the main thing, the master to all these different categories is your relationship with yourself. And we in our Western culture are taught to ignore ourselves. We're taught instead to put the focus on how people feel about us. My love for myself is not my love for myself. It's how you love me. So how you love me is how I'm going to love myself. And that's wrong. That's completely wrong. So self-concept is really important. What do I say all the time? What does everyone say? What does a lot of people say? You have to unlearn and relearn. I know a lot of people don't want to do the work, but those who do want to do the work are here, and those who want to do the work are doing the work. So back to what I said earlier about the girl who says that she would never date a man who comes from a single mother home. It's not about not dating. It's not about staying away from people who struggle. It's about staying away from people who don't want to see themselves out of a struggle. Because people who have been through bad situations, half of them have grown up to put themselves in the very situation that they were running from as a kid. That shit is sad. But the other half of them want to make for damn sure that their kids don't have to suffer, that their loved ones don't have to suffer, and they will be the opposite of what happened to them. They will be the opposite of their parents, the opposite of whatever happened. You know what I'm saying? So it's really about not wanting to be with someone who doesn't know how to grow or to look at themselves, or to someone who doesn't see their wrongs. I would always go for someone who, I think to me, the best relationship is a relationship with someone who is able to correct themselves and to grow. So I would go for someone who, maybe if they had a past like that, they've been working on themselves. Now they want to work on themselves, but they've been working on themselves. So learning to love for men would be realizing that love is more than what you do. It's how you show up for yourself emotionally and how you show up for other people emotionally. You don't have to carry everything alone. Vulnerability is actually a superpower, not a weakness. I talked about that in past conversations. And softness is not a weakness, it's a strength. Softness is a strength. I've talked about that in past talks, because it's about when you're vulnerable, you understand that even the rawest forms of you are powerful and are love. That means that you are not ashamed of the things that have happened to you, that you love yourself anyway. You love yourself anyway, even when you're correcting yourself. I'm still amazing. I'm still great. You can ignore someone and they will still send you good morning texts. That's not nice, Shayla. For women, it looks like independence is... Are we having that conversation? Okay, so for women, it looks like independence is beautiful, but intimacy requires trust. Let yourself receive. You don't always have to prove you deserve love. Softness is not a liability, it's a gift. I would say this is for both, because you have, like I said, masculine and feminine energy in both of us. And when you're in survival mode, both of them are wounded. Love shouldn't feel like a job interview, a war zone. It is not a battlefield, okay? It's not supposed to be anyway. It's not a debt to be paid. A healthy relationship a healthy relationship is not built on struggle. It's built on choice. However, I do want to say a healthy relationship also, and this is the whole love versus survival. When struggle happens, We are working together as a unit to come out of it. It's not a blame. It's not you did this, and it's not I'm running. That's unhealthy. Healthy looks like working together, staying 10 toes down, and being committed. A lot of people lack commitment. They're only committed to themselves. Which, don't get it twisted, you should be committed to yourself, but you should also have commitment towards the commitments that you made, especially when you put a family together. If you have to earn basic love, respect, or peace, you are not in love, you are in survival. I want to say, I feel like we've gone through so much. I feel like that was, hey, we could talk about this conversation more because there's so much going on in our society, in our Western culture, that is just such bullshit. And there's so much going on in our society that is such love. But we will talk about these things another day. I have to wake this little boy up, get him fed, and get him to his doctor's appointment where all they're doing is testing his hearing because he's always perfect health. My son is always perfect health, you guys. I'm Shayla Jade. This is Chocolate Cake 101. If you found these conversations to be valuable and you want to share this with someone, do it. If you don't, you don't. I'm Shayla Jade. My love is your love. Peace. Peace. Peace.